Last Wednesday, 32-year-old Joresse JoJo Williams and 35-year-old Laverda Robinson were shot and killed outside their apartment on Howe Avenue.
The suspected gunman killed himself the next day at Arden Fair Mall. KCRA 3's Michelle Bandour has more.
Two women gunned down in a parking lot, a chef with a hidden life, a secret worth killing for. The sound of gunshots shattered the night in Sacramento on April 10, 2024. By the time police arrived at the 1100 apartment complex, Joresse, JoJo Williams, and Laverda V. Robinson lay dead in the parking lot, their bodies riddled with bullets. Their killer had already fled the scene. This wasn't a random act of violence or a robbery gone wrong. This was personal. This was calculated. This was a desperate man's attempt to bury a secret that threatened to destroy his carefully constructed life. The man behind the trigger? Ricky Hunter, a 32-year-old chef living what some call a down-low lifestyle, publicly straight but privately engaging in same-sex relationships. When JoJo and V discovered his secret and allegedly threatened to expose him, Hunter made a fatal decision that would claim 3 lives, theirs and ultimately his own. What drives someone to murder to protect a secret? How does blackmail escalate to bloodshed? And what happens when the pressure of living a double life finally explodes? Welcome to True Crime Malice, where we dive into the darkest corners of human behavior to understand what pushes ordinary people to commit extraordinary crimes. I'm your host, and today we're examining a case that exposes the deadly consequences when secrets, shame, and threats of exposure collide. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and join our community of true crime enthusiasts who aren't afraid to ask the tough questions. Drop your city in the comments. I want to know where you're watching from and what you think about this shocking case. Now let's rewind and meet the women whose lives were cut tragically short that April night. JoJo Williams wasn't just another statistic. She was a force of nature. Born July 5, 1991 in Sacramento to Joseph Williams and Rochelle Appling, she grew up with a flair for the dramatic and an eye for fashion that turned heads. That girl could walk into a room and everyone would notice, recalled her childhood friend Tasha, not just because she was beautiful, which she absolutely was, but because she had this energy that pulled people in. JoJo's social media showcased her talent for styling plus-size clothing. Her TikTok videos featured her modeling outfits with confidence and sass, often punctuated with her catchphrase, "I am a thick little bitch, and don't you forget it." Her followers loved her authenticity and body-positive message. But JoJo's true pride was her 12-year-old daughter. Despite becoming a mother at 20, JoJo never viewed parenthood as an obstacle. Instead, it became her motivation. The week before her death, JoJo had been planning her daughter's birthday party, texting friends about decorations and a custom cake shaped like a pair of Nike Air Force 1s, her daughter's dream gift. "My heart is broken for my sister, my only sister," Joshana told reporters, her voice cracking. "I am lost without her. We were all each other had."
My heart is broken for my little sister, my only sister. I am lost without her. We were all each other had.
Laverda V. Robinson, 35, moved through life with equal confidence but a different style. A 2007 graduate of Grant Union High School, V was known for her meticulous attention to detail, especially when it came to her appearance. V would spend 3 hours getting ready just to go to the grocery store, laughed her cousin Darnell. Hair, makeup, outfit, everything had to be perfect. And it always was. Former classmates remembered V as the girl who never had a hair out of place, even during PE class. This perfectionism extended to her work as a medical office administrator, where colleagues praised her organization and precision. "Common thing V don't play about is her appearance," wrote a friend on her memorial page. But what people didn't always see was how loyal she was. If V was your friend, she had your back forever. Unlike JoJo, V was more private about her personal life. She wasn't active on social media and preferred intimate gatherings to large parties. Those close to her described a woman with a sharp wit who could read someone for filth when necessary, but was equally quick to offer support in times of need. The two women had been friends for nearly a decade, bonding initially over their shared love of fashion and gradually becoming confidants. They were often seen together at local restaurants and clubs, two striking women who commanded attention without seeking it. Neither woman had a criminal record, neither had a history of conflict or violence. By all accounts, they were simply living their lives, until they discovered a secret that would cost them everything. Ricky Hunter moved through Sacramento's culinary scene with the confidence of a man who knew his worth. At 32, he'd built a reputation as a talented chef at one of the city's upscale restaurants, known for his innovative takes on soul food classics and impeccable plating. With his nose ring, meticulously groomed beard, and collection of designer watches, Hunter cultivated an image of success. His Instagram featured artfully composed photos of his dishes, occasional gym selfies, and the trappings of a comfortable life: a downtown apartment, weekend trips to Napa, a gleaming black Audi. Ricky was charming as hell, said Marcus, a former co-worker. He'd have the whole kitchen laughing during prep, then switch to this intense focus during service. Customers would request him specifically. They wanted to meet the chef behind their meal. What those customers, and most of Hunter's colleagues, didn't know was that he was living what's commonly referred to as a down-low lifestyle. Publicly, Hunter presented as heterosexual, occasionally mentioning dates with women. Privately, he engaged in same-sex relationships, carefully compartmentalizing this aspect of his life. The term down-low, or DL, emerged in black communities to describe men who identify as heterosexual but secretly have sex with men. It's a phenomenon born from the intersection of masculinity expectations, religious pressures, and lingering homophobia in certain communities. It's not just about being closeted, explained Dr. James Richardson, a sociologist who studies sexuality in communities of color. It's about actively maintaining a heterosexual identity while engaging in homosexual behavior. The secrecy isn't just a preference, it's seen as a necessity. For Hunter, discovery wasn't just about potential embarrassment. It threatened his entire self-concept and social standing. In the kitchen culture where he thrived, hypermasculinity often reigned supreme. In his family circle, where he was viewed as a success story, his sexuality could be seen as a disappointment or worse. As one online commenter noted after the murders, black DL men can be very dangerous to both females who are either friends with them and not know the man's secret life, females who are involved with them sexually, and gay men who are involved with them sexually. Hunter's carefully constructed double life required constant vigilance. He reportedly used separate phones for different aspects of his life. He dated women in public settings while meeting men in private or in neighboring cities. He maintained strict boundaries between friend groups. But secrets have a way of surfacing, especially in the age of digital footprints and social media. Before we continue with how JoJo and V discovered Hunter's secret, I want to ask you, have you ever known someone living a double life? How far do you think a person would go to protect their deepest secret? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. The exact moment JoJo and V discovered Hunter's secret remains unclear, but according to multiple sources, the revelation occurred approximately 3 weeks before the murders. Hunter had reportedly been romantically involved with both women at different points, JoJo briefly the previous year, and V more recently. Neither woman knew about the other's history with Hunter until they compared notes during a girls' night out. They were showing each other texts from guys they were talking to, said a mutual friend who requested anonymity. When V pulled up Hunter's messages, JoJo recognized him immediately. That's when things got weird. Their initial shock at Hunter's two-timing quickly transformed into something more significant when JoJo revealed she had once walked in on Hunter video chatting with a man, in what she described as an obviously intimate conversation. At the time, Hunter had explained it away as a joke between friends, and JoJo, not wanting to seem judgmental, had accepted the explanation. But now, with V sharing similar suspicions, the women began digging deeper. They found Hunter's alternate Instagram account through a mutual connection, an account where he followed predominantly gay men and occasionally commented with suggestive emojis. More damning was a dating app profile they discovered that featured Hunter's distinctive tattoo in a shirtless photo, though his face was cropped out. The most explosive evidence came when V recalled a night when Hunter had left his phone unlocked while showering at her apartment. She had glimpsed explicit messages and photos exchanged with a man saved in his contacts as Jay from Jim. According to text messages later recovered from the victims' phones, the women initially approached Hunter with their discovery privately. A meeting at JoJo's apartment quickly escalated into a heated confrontation. "You've been playing us and them," JoJo reportedly texted Hunter afterward. "We trusted you. We let you into our lives. For what? So you could use us as your cover?" When emotional appeals failed, the situation took a darker turn. According to a coworker, Hunter began missing shifts and appeared increasingly agitated. He kept checking his phone, stepping outside to take calls. His hands would shake while plating. It wasn't like him at all. Text message. What's clear is that by April 10th, the situation had reached a breaking point. Hunter had made a partial payment of $2,000 to each woman but was claiming financial difficulties with providing the rest. The women had grown impatient. That evening, Hunter texted JoJo, "We need to finish this tonight. I'll bring what I have." Security. What happened next occurred just out of camera range, but audio captured raised voices. A resident who overheard part of the argument reported hearing a woman shout, "You think we're playing? By tomorrow everyone will know." At 10:40 p.m., multiple gunshots rang out. When the camera angle captures the scene again, Hunter is seen running back to his car while the women lay motionless on the pavement. By the time first responders arrived, JoJo and V were beyond saving. As dawn broke over Sacramento on April 11th, Ricky Hunter had vanished. His apartment sat empty, drawers hastily emptied. His prized Audi was found abandoned in a Walmart parking lot 10 miles from the crime scene. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office moved quickly, processing evidence from the shooting and interviewing witnesses. By noon, they had officially named Hunter as their prime suspect and issued an all-points bulletin. "We're dealing with an individual who has demonstrated he's willing to use deadly force," Sheriff spokesperson Sergeant M.R. Gandhi told reporters. "We consider him armed, dangerous, and desperate." Detectives traced Hunter's movements through his cell phone activity. After abandoning his car, he had taken a rideshare to a motel near the airport, paid cash for a room, and remained there until morning. From there, he had visited an ATM, withdrawing his daily maximum limit of $500 before disappearing again. The break came when Hunter's phone briefly activated near Arden Fair Mall. Surveillance teams converged on the area and spotted him entering an AT&T store on the 1700 block of Arden Way shortly after 2:00 p.m. "We believe he was attempting to purchase a burner phone," explained Detective Ramirez at the subsequent press conference. "He likely didn't realize his regular phone was still pinging towers." Rather than risk civilian casualties by confronting Hunter inside the crowded store, detectives established a perimeter and waited. Their patience was rewarded when Hunter emerged 20 minutes later, a small bag in hand, and walked to a silver Toyota Camry with rental plates parked in a far corner of the lot. As Hunter opened the driver's door, detectives moved in from multiple directions, weapons drawn, ordering him to show his hands. Store patrons later described this scene as something from a movie, with unmarked cars suddenly screeching to a halt and plainclothes officers emerging with guns and badges. Hunter froze momentarily, then reached into the vehicle. Despite commands to stop, he pulled out a shotgun and without hesitation turned it on himself. The single blast struck Hunter in the chest. Detectives immediately shifted from arrest to life-saving mode, applying a chest seal from their tactical medical kits while calling for paramedics. Hunter was transported to UC Davis Medical Center in critical condition. Despite emergency surgery, he was pronounced dead at 5:17 p.m., less than 24 hours after taking the lives of JoJo Williams and Laverda Robinson. With Hunter's death, the case was officially closed. But for those left behind, the questions were just beginning. The double homicide and subsequent suicide sent shockwaves through Sacramento, transforming from local tragedy to national conversation about violence, sexuality, and blackmail. 8 days after the shooting, over 100 people gathered outside the 1100 apartment complex. The parking spaces where JoJo and V had fallen were now covered with flowers, candles, photographs, and balloons in their favorite colors: purple for JoJo, teal for V. JoJo's sister Joshana stood at the center of the vigil, her arm around her niece, JoJo's now motherless daughter. The girl clutched a teddy bear made from her mother's favorite hoodie, her face a mask of confusion and grief, too profound for her 12 years. The crowd included not just family and friends, but strangers moved by the story. Mothers holding their children closer, young women who saw themselves in the victims, men questioning their own complicity in cultures of toxic masculinity. V's family maintained more privacy in their grief, but her cousin spoke briefly, describing V as a woman who never judged others for who they loved, which makes this betrayal even more cruel. Local victim advocate Leigh Shank from Impact used the platform to highlight the intersection of gun violence and violence against women of color. Gun violence is gun violence, and whatever disagreement happened that night should not warrant the death of those two women, Shank declared, her voice rising with controlled anger. These two women did nothing to provoke this. They did nothing to warrant this death. We are not going to blame the victims. The vigil concluded with the release of 32 purple balloons and 35 teal ones, one for each year of life JoJo and V should have had. Online, the conversation took different directions. Some commenters focused on the alleged blackmail, suggesting the women had played a dangerous game. Others pointed to Hunter's actions as evidence of the violence that can emerge from shame and secrecy around sexuality. A GoFundMe for JoJo's daughter raised over $50,000 in 3 days. The restaurant where Hunter worked closed for a week, then reopened with a new menu item called The Survivor, with proceeds benefiting domestic violence shelters. At Liberty Towers Church on April 27th, hundreds gathered for JoJo's funeral. Her white casket was surrounded by fashion sketches she had drawn, photos of her modeling, and a poster-sized picture of her with her daughter. JoJo lived out loud, the pastor said, and now her voice has been silenced, but her story, that will echo forever. This case isn't just about a double murder. It's a perfect storm where sexuality, identity, power, and violence collided with deadly consequences. Let's break down the social forces at play. First, there's the pressure cooker of hidden identity. Despite significant progress in LGBTQ+ acceptance, many men, particularly in some communities of color, still face immense pressure to conform to traditional masculinity. Hunter's career in the hyper-masculine kitchen environment likely amplified this pressure. Restaurant kitchens remain bastions of machismo, where weakness isn't tolerated, and homosexuality can still be viewed as exactly that, weakness. I've worked in kitchens for 15 years, says former chef Anthony Rivero, who now advocates for LGBTQ+ inclusion in culinary spaces. The culture is changing, but slowly. There's still this idea that being gay somehow makes you less capable of handling the heat, the pressure, the physicality of kitchen work. It's complete nonsense, but the stereotype persists. Then there's the power dynamic of threatened exposure. Blackmail works only when the target fears the consequences of revelation more than the demands of the blackmailer. What we're seeing is the weaponization of shame, notes digital ethics researcher Dr. Alicia Torres. In an era where private information can be shared globally in seconds, the threat of exposure carries unprecedented power. People don't always realize they're playing with fire when they leverage someone's secrets against them. The alleged blackmail by JoJo and V, if that's indeed what occurred, represents a complex moral territory. Were they wrong to demand compensation for being used as beards in Hunter's deception? Perhaps. Was their action worthy of a death sentence? Absolutely not. There's a disturbing tendency to focus on the victim's alleged blackmail rather than the perpetrator's choice to commit murder, points out violence prevention specialist Keisha Washington. We need to be clear, nothing justifies what Hunter did. Many people face blackmail or exposure without resorting to violence. The accessibility of firearms adds the final, fatal ingredient to this toxic mix. Hunter's decision to bring a gun to the confrontation transformed what might have remained a heated argument into a double homicide. The case also highlights how technology has transformed the dynamics of secret keeping. In previous generations, living a double life was easier. Communities were more separated, evidence more ephemeral. Today, digital footprints make perfect compartmentalization nearly impossible. Hunter was fighting a losing battle, Dr. Torres observes. Between dating apps, location tracking, digital photos, and social media, maintaining a completely separate identity is virtually impossible long-term. The stress of constantly monitoring these digital boundaries likely contributed to his mental state. Before we continue to the lessons we can learn from this tragedy, I want to ask, do you think Hunter's suicide was an admission of guilt, or was it the final act of a man who couldn't face the shame of exposure? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This tragedy offers painful but crucial lessons that might prevent similar violence in the future. First, we must create communities where authentic identity doesn't carry a death sentence. The pressure that forced Hunter to construct elaborate facades didn't emerge from nowhere. It came from real fears of rejection, ridicule, and ostracism. The antidote to shame is acceptance, says LGBTQ+ youth counselor Miguel Fernandez. When we build families, workplaces, and communities where people can be their full selves, we remove the power of exposure as a threat. Second, we must recognize the dangers of leveraging private information, even when we feel justified. The digital age has given us unprecedented power to expose others, but with that power comes responsibility. Before threatening exposure, ask yourself, am I creating a potentially dangerous situation? Advises conflict resolution specialist Dr. Tanya Brooks. Is there another way to address this harm? Sometimes walking away is the safest option. Third, we need better conflict resolution tools. When disputes escalate, having pathways to mediation can prevent violence. Finally, we must address gun accessibility. Hunter's decision to bring a firearm transformed a confrontation into a massacre in seconds. These aren't abstract issues. They're matters of life and death, as JoJo's daughter, now growing up without her mother, knows all too well. The deaths of Joresse JoJo Williams, Laverda V. Robinson, and Ricky Hunter represent a perfect storm of secrecy, shame, and violence. 3 lives cut short in a tragedy that ripples outward through families and communities. As we reflect on this case, remember, sometimes the most dangerous secrets aren't the ones being kept, but the ones threatening to be exposed. This has been True Crime Malice. If you found this story compelling, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Share this video with someone who appreciates the complex realities behind violent crimes. Until next time, stay safe out there, and remember that compassion might just save a life.